Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashy Business Show. Today is Friday, April 11, 2025. I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Wart Ahmed, and we have great topics for you today. Now, for the headlines, firstly, we're still going to be discussing His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, the Crown Prince of Dubai's visit in India. And this time, him and India's Minister of Commerce and Industry have actually witnessed the signing of 8 agreements between India and the UAE. Secondly, this is really big for the luxury world. If you like luxury, this is for you. Prada is buying Versace for $1.3 billion. This is one of the largest acquisitions ever. Thirdly, Tesla has officially launched operations in Saudi Arabia, and we're going to tell you more about how the launch went. And finally, the Saudi prince has returns to football with 1 billion Riyal investment fund.
Let's start with His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, who is on every news channel, on every news feed, everywhere since he went to India. So the summary of his event is that Dubai and India have taken a major leap in strengthening their strategic partnership as His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, Crown Prince of Dubai, witnessed the signing of 8 key agreements in Mumbai. The MOUs span critical sectors such as infrastructure, education, healthcare, logistics, and maritime services.
Now, speaking at the event, His Highness Sheikh Hamdan said India and the UAE share a deep-rooted friendship and a common vision for sustainable growth and innovation. Now, he emphasized that these agreements reflect the two nations' commitment to building resilient economies and empowering communities through knowledge and technology.
And the Dubai Chambers signed 3 agreements with top Indian industry bodies, CII, FICCI, and IMC, to boost private sector collaboration. These MOUs aim to facilitate market entry for businesses in both countries, support investment expansion, and enhance trade through joint participation in exhibitions and trade fairs.
Now, DP World actually signed a memorandum of understanding with India's rights to develop tech-enabled supply chains and logistics infrastructure. Now, the deal builds on the virtual trade corridor launched in 2024 and targets collaboration on multi-modal logistics parks, port connectivity, and freight solutions.
And in maritime cooperation, Dry Docks World partnered with Cochin Shipyard Limited to establish ship repair clusters in India and advance marine engineering projects. Meanwhile, Dubai's Department of Economy and Tourism signed a landmark MOU with IIM Ahmedabad to open a global business school campus in Dubai, launching its first MBA program later this year.
Now, on the healthcare front, Dubai Health inked a deal to create the UAE-India Friendship Hospital, a not-for-profit facility in Dubai, while Dubai Medical University and AIIMS signed an academic agreement focused on joint research, digital transformation, and global health initiatives.
Yeah.
Now, Majid, much more than the fact that, we said that they share so much economic opportunity, I think it's the fact that, India has over 1.4 people there. If 1.4 billion people there
in India,
yeah, and
their population.
That's the number of consumers that the UAE is targeting. But it's not only that; it's also the fact that, according to statistics, I'm taking a look at them right now. Over 3.5 million Indians live in the UAE, and as Majid just said yesterday, it's the largest population in the UAE. Imagine, that's much more than even the Emirati locals that live in the UAE. So I think that the UAE is really smart with going about these deals because it's targeting such a large population of people, and it's targeting an economy that's only set to grow.
Yeah, and India, I think, after China, is the fastest growing economy in the world. Every year, they increase their numbers. So obviously, going there, doing business, selling your stuff to India to sell, again, 1.4 billion people, 1.4 billion eyeballs as well. That is why whenever we see a Bollywood movie premiere in the UAE, it's just crazy. So yeah, never go to the cinema when there's an Indian movie there.
Majid, though, I don't just think that it's the UAE benefiting out of this. I also think it's also India because India benefits from the UAE in the sense of that they can get oil exports. And it's also the fact that they can also get liquid natural gas (LNG) from the UAE. So it's a very mutually beneficial
And
relationship here.
if you talk about non-oil products, the good thing about UAE is the buying power of the people. So Indian products, one, they have such a big Indian impact here, Indian population impact, that those people need their products, their local products, their herbal products, all the Indian products. So one, they have a market to sell to. Second, non-oil products, the important part is that some people who are not Indians actually love Indian products. So if you
I'm
talk,
one of them.
Yeah,
I am so one
there's
of them.
a whole, one of my friends works at Amazon. He was telling me about this deal. They struck with one of the herbal organic products from India to bring it on Amazon in the UAE and in Saudi. So he was in UAE and then he moved to Saudi Arabia. He was telling me that it's one of the biggest markets which they have on Amazon, the herbal organic products from India.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And he was like, I can't tell you the details of the numbers and everything, but he was like, this is a separate category in itself, and we have a category manager for only this. And I was like, okay. So imagine
Of course,
the
imagine.
size of the market.
I'm sorry, but everyone's so obsessed with South Asian features.
Yeah.
I mean, the long, like straight, beautiful hair, mashallah.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not go buy my herbal oils to have hair like that? So it makes a lot of sense. But you know what it also
I have
is?
a very weird opinion
go
on
on.
this. I think it's more genetics. But yeah, people
Of course
think
it's
that it's
genetics,
products as
Of
well.
course it's genetics, but like
Yeah.
growing up, I always, like me and my family, whenever we see like an Indian woman pass
Yeah.
by and we see her hair, we're always like, man, like mashallah, we
Yeah.
wish we had hair like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's also the fact that the products that come out of India, I remember I got gifted this coconut oil. I've grown up like using coconut oil my entire life. I got gifted this coconut oil from the palm trees of a friend in India, from Kerala, Majid. It's the best coconut oil I have used in my life. And imagine, I always go to Carrefour, and I always, Carrefour by Majid Al Fatim, and I always go buy the coconut tub that like costs like 40, 50 dirhams.
Yeah.
This oil that I got from palm trees in Kerala, it was insane. The scent was different. The way the texture was different. So the materials that come out of India, I mean, they're not to be underestimated. I actually have a local friend. Her and her family, they go to Mumbai all the time. And you know what it is? So I forgot what it's called in English, but you know the bakhur, the logs of wood that we put in they get it from Mumbai.
Nice.
The materials, there's just so many resources in
Yeah.
India, and I think it's also the artistry of its people,
Yeah.
the way that they can sew really well, and the kind of materials that they can give you. So I think here what we're seeing is and it's a really kind of good, it's a really kind of nice relationship to see, especially in the kind of political climate that we live in now. Two nations who have such a peaceful, symbiotic relationship with one another, where both sides are benefiting equally.
Also, it's not His Highness Sheikh Hamdan. I just remembered, I saw a post yesterday. So it's the third generation of UAE leadership, and especially Dubai leadership. Apparently, in 1974, Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum, the then ruler of Dubai, the father of the ruler of Dubai right now, he posed with President Dr. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad in New Delhi, so he went there. Then in 2007, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Dubai ruler, the current Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE, he visited India, met with Indian Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and now in 2025, Sheikh Hamdan went and met with Prime Minister Modi. So it's the third generation of Dubai rulers and Dubai leadership. And UAE as a whole, we talked about it yesterday when he rang the bell. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, he also went when he was the crown prince.
Mumbai Stock Exchange.
So he went in 2016. So he was there as well. So we have a very cordial relationship. We've already talked about SEPA, the very first SEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. UAE signed it with India because India is a big market, and India thinks UAE, the people have such a great buying power that they want to come here and do trade here.
Sorry, Majid, I'm just going to jump in. I just discovered something. The UAE, out of all the Gulf countries, actually has the most trade volume with India. Yeah, it's
So
actually the UAE.
from India to UAE?
I mean like the amount of money made. Remember when we were discussing the
Oh, yeah.
CEPA agreement that was signed in 2022 between India and the UAE? You know, this led to like trade volume of, I believe it was
85 billion
yeah,
nearly.
$85 billion. So the UAE actually tops every other Gulf country. Right after that, you have Saudi, and their
Like
trade.
combined trade, like India
Yeah, they're
selling stuff and
combined.
then,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
nice.
trade volume. So
Yeah.
their bilateral trade between Saudi Arabia and India between 2023 to 2024 actually led to $52 billion.
Nice.
And that was because India was importing crude oil, and Saudi Arabia's public investment fund that is nearly worth $1 trillion. I know that we always say this, but it's still a crazy number. They actually pledged $100 billion in Indian sectors like energy and
Nice.
tech, and Indian firms like ONGC to invest in Saudi energy. And then thirdly, you have Qatar. And then Qatar trade reached $14 billion between them. Then you have Oman, $12 billion. I think especially for Oman, that's great.
Yeah.
And then you have Kuwait, but the UAE is right at the
So
top.
out of the Middle Eastern countries, UAE
Yeah.
has the most trade. Yeah, obviously they have a CEPA agreement, bilateral trade, less tariffs.
Yeah,
Great
that's what
for
gives them that
India,
advantage.
great for UAE as well. Let's move on to the next story. Very interesting story. Another big numbers, big money story in a landmark deal that reshapes the global luxury landscape, as Word said in the start. Prada SPA, the full name of the company, but very well known as Prada, has agreed to acquire Versace for $1.38 billion in cash. The move strengthens Prada's position as Italy's largest fashion group and marks the brand's most significant acquisition in its 112-year history.
I think if you guys heard, Majid just said that that was in cash.
Yeah.
You know, that's really big. That means that money was ready. It was not borrowed from
Yeah.
banks, straight up. Now, the transaction is expected to close in the second half of this year. It signals a return of Versace to Italian ownership after nearly 6 years under Capri Holdings, which bought the brand for $1.8 billion in 2018. Now, the deal was first reported by Bloomberg News on March 2nd and has now been officially confirmed by both companies. Now, that means they didn't make profit on it. They actually bought it for $1.8 billion.
Yeah,
and they're now
the problem
selling it
was,
for 1.4.
if you go into the details of the story, nearly 200 to $300 million was the negotiation region, and because of tariffs, it came down actually. Otherwise, without the tariffs,
That's
they
such
were.
a horrible time to finalize
Yeah,
it.
but they still finalized it. They were like, no, we want it back in Italy. So that was the point. But with this acquisition, Prada is positioning itself to better compete with luxury giants such as LVMH and Kering. Versace, known for its bold, flashy designs, struggled to find its footing under Capri's ownership. Prada now has the opportunity to drive the kind of turnaround Capri couldn't deliver.
Now, I feel that as we take a look at this story, it also actually comes around as we heard just very recently that Donatella Versace,
Yeah.
she stepped down from her role as creative
Yeah.
director after nearly 13 years. So I think that in itself was a hint at what's to come. Now, the deal comes despite ongoing global market volatility, as Majid said, including tensions from U.S. trade policy. Now, behind the scenes, Prada has been in negotiations for several months to actually acquire the brand founded by Gianni Versace in the 1970s.
And both Prada and Versace have made strategic inroads into the Middle East. Prada's partnership with Altair Insignia, established in 2011, helped reintroduce the brand to the region and strengthen its retail presence after a previous exit from Saks Fifth Avenue in the UAE.
And now Versace, meanwhile, is represented in the region through Palazzo Versace Dubai, its flagship luxury hotel managed by
Monter Darwish, yes.
Darwish, a long-standing retail partnership with Chalhoub Group. Now, these Middle East ventures are expected to play a key role in the merged group's growth strategy moving forward.
Yeah, and I saw it on Chalhoub's website that they brand Versace. One of the comments was very weird that Versace is not considered a luxury brand in the Middle East. And I was like, okay.
I think that it's actually very ghetto. I think that's kind of true because whenever I go into Fashion Avenue in Dubai Mall, I don't actually see that many women wearing Versace, by the way. I've noticed that the trend is Dior and Hermes specifically.
Yeah. Hermes
These
is
two.
to like top.
I rarely see people like wearing Prada. It's usually either Dior Chanel, Dior Chanel, or Hermes. I think that's like the common trend that I've seen.
It can be like when you were talking about this, it came to my mind. Like recently, I was in Qatar and I was talking to the young guys there. They were like videographers for something, and I was just having a chat. And I was like, "Okay, you guys also have Nissan Petrol as the best car here?" And they're like, "No, no, no, no. We like Land Cruisers." So in UAE, having Nissan Petrol is a
Yeah.
sign of like having status and all that.
Yeah.
In Qatar, it's I think Land Cruiser because they said so, but I think it's the same with brands also, big luxury brands. So most probably if you're in some other region, some brand will have more value over other because in that region people think, oh,
Yeah.
this brand,
Here
maybe
it's-
Prada is better.
Yeah.
In Middle East, they have a different taste. Oh,
think
no, we
here
think
it's
Hermes.
definitely Hermes. But
Yeah.
Majid, like, we just mentioned Altair Group.
Yeah,
And I
Altair
think that
Insignia.
It's really,
I think
really,
we did a very interesting. You remember I gave you the link to this one website where the chairman was, and we did a deep dive on it.
I do remember that
Yeah,
story,
I don't
but-
remember the story exactly, but we talked about
yeah,
him
and
somewhere.
Under
Yeah.
Altair Group, there are actually so many companies that they're licensed to distribute here. So some of the key brands in fashion actually include Gucci, Stella McCartney. There's also Bottega, Alexander McQueen, Dolce & Gabbana, Giorgio Armani. For beauty, they have Kiehl's, Bulgari. There's also Boucheron, one of my favorite jewelry brands. It's very beautiful. There's also Bloomingdale's, Harvey Nichols, and I believe one of the best rising e-commerce companies, Unas. So they have a lot of companies that are under their portfolio, all of which are extremely successful.
I think the story that we talked about him was their chairman basically.
It had to do with Insignia Group.
Yeah, basically they own an educational company which bought some foreign school ownership here. I'm not exactly sure about it, the names, but I remember the story now. So it was some educational group which is owned by Altair Signia and is chaired by their board, their head basically, their CEO. And we did a story about them buying a franchise of foreign-owned schools. It was most probably French schools, which were bought by this company. But yeah, even at that point when we were talking about him, we were like, we don't know these people who run these big franchise brands. Like they run holding companies which have so many brands under them as franchises.
I think that's a very common trend in the
Yeah.
UAE. People
With
it's
Indians,
either-
we see them a lot.
Yes. we
With
do.
locals, we don't
I
really.
think it might be. I think it's like a mixture of like the
Yeah.
fear of evil eye. Definitely
Yeah.
a mixture of a fear of evil eye, but also I think it's rooted in this deep privacy, which is among like Arab cultures. You know, it's among my Sudanese culture too. It's to be private, that
Yeah.
you can own a lot of wealth and you can have a lot of power, but that does not necessarily mean that you need to boast that power.
Yeah. So yeah, that's happening and not boasting the power. I think I found the story. Yes, Dubai education company Talim bought French schools. Yeah, this is the story with it. Dubai-based education company Talim acquires first French school to cater to French nationals, and the link to Insignia was here. Yeah, building on strong partner. Madaris owns Talim. Talim management is owned by Altair Insignia. So just imagine the layering of the
Yeah.
companies. So Altair owns one company,
they're scattered across
Madaris.
a lot of sectors.
We need to find these people. We need to talk about them. But let's talk about one of the people who loves to boast his wealth and everything else. I think
I wanted
nowadays,
to say the same
Elon
thing,
Musk.
actually.
Yeah.
So Tesla has officially launched operations in Saudi Arabia, marking a major milestone in the kingdom's electrical vehicle ambitions and signaling a potential reset in Elon Musk's relationship with the Saudi leadership. Now, the launch event showcased the Cybertruck and a redesigned Model Y sedan under palm trees and desert skies, drawing crowds and excitement in Riyadh.
And the move comes as Tesla searches for new customers amid a global slowdown. The company reported a 13% drop in first quarter sales in 2025, its worst performance in nearly 3 years. We've seen the videos of protests and people burning or damaging the Tesla trucks and
Friendship
Tesla
really
cars.
doesn't always give you what you need.
Analysts point to growing EV competition and aging vehicle lineup and backlash over Musk's political ties as reasons behind the slum.
Now, the kingdom is targeting 30% electrical vehicle adoption by 2030, up from just 1% last year. Now, that goal may seem ambitious, especially considering that Saudi Arabia's infrastructure challenges. So, the country's 900-kilometer east-west highway between Riyadh and Mecca still lacks a single EV charging station. There's no EV, like
900 kilometers.
Yeah, there's no electrical vehicle charging stations between them. And as of 2024, Saudi had only 101 charging stations compared to 261 that actually exist in the UAE, which it's way smaller than Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. And despite these hurdles, Tesla has plans to roll out online ordering, pop-up retail outlets in malls, and a network of supercharger stations and service centers. However, Elon Musk himself was notably absent from the launch event. He didn't come from video, he didn't come from physically in the physical form. Left fans like Mohammed Osama, he was quoted by Reuters, disappointed. I loved what he said. He said, "I'm in love with the Cybertruck, but I was really hoping to see him." Yeah, so
he doesn't really show up. We also saw that at FII last year.
Yeah.
He showed up through video call.
But at least he showed up,
and
right?
even when he met with His Highness Sheikh Hamdan in Washington just very
Video
recently,
call.
it was video call. But at some
World
point
Government
they did
Summit.
meet in real life. Yes, when
Video
he was
call.
announcing the Dubai Loop project,
Yeah.
is that what it was called?
Again,
yeah,
video call.
under railway system.
But yeah.
Now, this launch also reflects a thaw in relations between Musk and the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund after a public fallout in 2018 over a failed attempt to take Tesla private. Now, that spat included tense messages between Musk and PIF's funding chief Yasser Al-Rumayyan, which was later actually revealed in court documents where Musk actually said, "You're throwing me under the bus."
Yeah. Now the relationship appears to have mended. Musk, Rumayyan, and former U.S. President Donald Trump were recently seen sitting together at a UFC event, signaling renewed ties as Trump plans a visit to the kingdom in the coming weeks. I missed this point that they were sitting together at FII Impact event in Miami,
Yes.
where Trump gave a keynote speech, and he also talked about what's the name of the ambassador? Princess
what's her
Reem.
name?
Princess Reem, I remember.
Yes, Princess
So he
Reem.
talked about
Princess Reem was sitting right beside Elon Musk,
yeah.
actually.
So all these people and Elon Musk in the center sitting with them showed how much Trump loves Saudi Arabia since he chose it to be the first country to visit in May
just
also.
to give you all more context, so Saudi's U.S. ambassador is Princess Reem,
Yeah.
and she's actually quite famous in the
Yeah.
U.S., and she really does advocate for female empowerment, and she just so happens to know Love in Riyadh.
Yeah. I remember inside story, but she saw one of our posts, Smashy posts, and she was like, "I hope they choose a different picture." And someone who told us the story said, "We'll send you. You can send them the pictures."
Yes,
but she was really
you can.
happy, and I think being called the most powerful woman
She said
by
it on the Mo Show.
Oh yeah,
said it on
she
the
came
Mo
to
Show. Yeah,
she
sorry,
came to the
go
Mo
on,
Show,
sorry,
yeah.
Majid.
But seeing the most powerful man right now in the world who nearly removed 1 trillion from the market and then gave money to a lot of people, Trump calling a Saudi woman the most powerful woman. It's like a sign that Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, UAE, all our countries, they're not going anywhere in the next 2 decades
I
at
don't
least.
think that the West really needs to compliment us for us to be great.
It's not, it's not validation, but in terms of, if you think of it like this,
interesting.
that why would the most powerful man, the POTUS, the President of the United States, call a Saudi Arabian woman the most powerful woman? He also understands the power, the capital power, and also the
Exactly.
soft diplomacy power these countries hold.
And it's because PIF has like $1
Yeah.
trillion, and he's going to visit
Yeah. And
Saudi
you-
Arabia soon for
Also,
$1 trillion.
If you look at the last 2 months, what I've seen and what everyone has seen, that Saudi Arabia has been a mediator for Russia-Ukraine talks. UAE recently, we saw Russian people being released. They were negotiating. Oman is the center for new negotiations between, I think, Iran and US. All these countries have started playing the negotiator role between two fighting parties.
And you, Switzerland.
So you see, it's not just the money; it's also the mediation power that these guys hold. So it's really interesting how this.
There's also the Arabic culture, Majid.
Yeah.
I think there's a culture. There's a very welcoming generous culture that exists in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it's always existed here, but people have not actually known that. Because if you notice, the kind of like buffoonery that happens in America does not happen here. You never actually watch interviews where people are disrespecting one another or speaking in a really inappropriate manner. I think I just see that outside.
Yeah.
You don't see that here.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've seen in the Muslim world, to be honest, not even in the Arabic world.
Ooh, I think Muslim.
Yeah, it's
is
just something that stems from Islam, that you give respect and take respect. And even the Asian culture, you never like fight, like we've seen what happens outside. Like Musk calling one of the guys, I remember, he's the finance something. He said that Musk just assembles Teslas. He doesn't actually, he's not a car maker. I don't consider him a car maker. And then Musk came back and said a very weird thing, that he's stupid, he's an idiot, he doesn't understand this. So imagine these two people, in like the richest man in the world and then a person in the government, they're fighting like this. And then the press secretary comes to the White House podium, says, boys will be boys. Imagine, this is what politics in West right now
It's
is.
not even a football field.
Right.
This is the White House. But some news.
You will never see that
Majid,
happening
some
here.
news just actually came in. So Tesla actually suspended taking orders for Model S and Model X in China. So look how interesting that is. Just as it's officially launching in Saudi Arabia, it just possibly might be shutting down in China.
Yeah.
And we can definitely attribute the tariffs that Trump has imposed on China. Do you think they're unfair?
China is quietly killing off Tesla, the tweet says, which we're reading. But yeah, it's not unfair. China doesn't want to buy or sell American products because 125% tariff on China right now. I don't know if it goes to 200. They've placed at 84% tariff. Musk is really close to Trump. I think it makes very much sense. To be honest, yesterday there was a part in our script that I was reading, and it really struck to me that Chinese stuff on Amazon that you and me get from Amazon here in the UAE as well, they're going to completely remove some of the stuff because they can't do that 125% tariff thing.
Amazon.
Right? Shein, you use it a lot. My wife uses it a lot.
You know what? I've actually made one order in my life, and that order was 4 days ago. So
okay.
That was me taking advantage of the time that we're
Yeah,
in.
but you have to realize that Shein will also become expensive. My wife ordered like a bunch of stuff for like 30 dirhams. Yesterday there was a big pack and there were like 7-8 things, and I was like, why are you spending so much money? She's like, 30 dirhams, 35 dirhams for all of this. And out of that stuff, if I go and buy something in the UAE market right now, she bought me a calendar because I love physical calendars, writing on them, and a phone cover and all that. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this cover, if I buy it here, it'll cost me like 35, 40 dirhams.
Yeah,
and she bought like
covers on
6,
Shein
7.
are like 10 dirhams.
Right?
I remember I went and I got these claw clips. This is like the most thing that I can remember in comparison with Shein and shopping here. I got these claw clips from Home Center. Home Center is a part of Landmark?
Landmark, most probably,
yes. Yeah, Home Center is a part of Landmark Group, and the clips were 15 dirhams. I found them on Shein for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, so all those things will happen. Me and Vard, we always have this conversation behind the camera, and sometimes when we're talking about it, that people still don't understand what the tariff will actually do.
Until it actually does come.
Yeah, actually, once you
that's with everything.
buy an iPhone, most probably for $9,000 or 9,000 dirhams, after buying it for 5,000, you'll realize.
I'm going to have to settle for the iPhone 16.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So these effects will come soon.
For our last story, so Prince Abdullah Al Saud is making a high-profile return to the world of football with the launch of a new 1 billion Riyal fund equivalent to $266 million focused on club acquisitions in Europe and North America.
And the announcement came during the Sports Investment Forum in Riyadh, where Prince Abdullah revealed that his United World Group would contribute 20% to the 1 billion Riyal fund. That's like 200 million. The move marks a fresh chapter after his exit from English club Sheffield United, which was sold earlier this year for around 105 million euros to US-based COH Sports.
Now, under Prince Abdullah's ownership, Sheffield United saw a dramatic journey with 3 promotions to the Premier League, meaning that their leadership was actually very successful, cup runs, and financial turbulence during the COVID era. Now, his group has also divested from clubs in France, India, and the UAE, but it still owns Belgian side Beerschot. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Beerschot. This new fund is a part of a wider Saudi push into global sports, echoing the public investment fund's takeover of Newcastle United in 2021. Prince Abdullah said the goal is to apply lessons from past experiences, his Sheffield United experiences, and approach acquisitions more strategically rather than just writing big checks.
Now, he also addressed what he called misconceptions around Gulf investments in football, emphasizing that Saudi Arabia sees sport as a long-term platform for value creation and global influence, particularly in markets like England and North America. You know, Majid, when he's saying that, it's almost like he's going against those like sports washing allegations and accusations that, you know, Saudi Arabia is using all these sport investments to actually diverge people's eyes from some horrible hidden truth, some injustice that's occurring, but that's completely untrue.
And with Qatar owning PSG and UAE behind Manchester City, specifically Abu Dhabi behind Manchester City, Saudi Arabia is now preparing for its next phase of football expansion. The new fund could reshape club ownership dynamics across Europe and beyond as Gulf influence in the sport deepens. Very important timing for this because Saudi Pro League is growing. The World Cup in 2034 is coming to Saudi Arabia. It's a very nice time for him to invest in something like that. And very interestingly, he has taken away all the money from all the clubs in the world apart from that one club, Beerschot. So he had some stake in UAE 3rd Division League, if I read it correctly. He had Indian Football Club investment. So he came out of everything and now he's building a fund. So it's like you go, you try it out, you see what works and what not.
He's taken his investment.
Yeah, he's taken the invest. He's literally taken the money out of all his investments and he's built this fund. And now he wants to go. I think it's very simply put. He learned his lessons from all the regions, and now he wants to go to North America and England.
But you know, Majid, I feel like it's such a growing trend for us to see royals actually purchasing clubs. Now, we just mentioned Manchester City and how it was acquired by His Highness Sheikh Mansour. But just to give you guys more context, they actually, Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan acquired Manchester City in 2008 through Abu Dhabi's United Group for 200 million euros. Now, this actually transformed the club into a Premier League winner. And they, you know, with...
If I remember correctly, before the Abu Dhabi takeover, Manchester City hadn't won any titles, big titles, for like at least a decade. They came in like 3-4 years, they still didn't win anything, but then came the point where they beat Manchester United very last second. It was extra time, Aguero scored the goal, and on goal difference they won. They had the same point as Manchester United. So they had to score a goal in the very last second of the match. It was like 112th or 13th minute. Usually a game is 90 minutes. Aguero scored the goal. Manchester City won the first Premier League title. And since then, they've won literally everything.
And you know, Majid, you know what I actually also find really interesting? I remember, you know, with the football team PSG, you know, when I was growing up, I always asked myself, like, how did they have the money to pay both Mbappe and Neymar at the same time? No, truly, but like I was
and
like,
at some point, Messi also played for them.
Yes, I was like, how do they have the money to do that? And like now we know why. It's because of the fact that, you know, through Qatar's sport investments, Nasser Al-Khalafi. Nasser Al-Khalafi actually purchased PSG, and they spent over 1.5 billion euros into Neymar and Mbappe, and that's actually what elevated PSG so much. But there was just one more team that we didn't mention, and of course it's Newcastle United. It was actually acquired in 2021 for 305 million euros by Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, and they were able to and the same obviously fund that we constantly discuss, they've also invested into stars like Ronaldo and
Yeah.
Benzema. So the fact that they have their hands in football so much, I mean, this is more than love. It
Yeah.
really is more than love.
And he said it very nicely, Prince Abdullah, that we think of it as a strategic investment over the years, over like not just 2 years or 3 years, just to make our image better, over a decade, over 2 decades, maybe even, just to show that we think that this is a good field to invest in and we will get returns. So, nice strategy and a very nice, cute story coming out of Saudi Arabia.
Cute is crazy. That's a wrap for today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Smashy Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashy Business. And as always, stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description.
This has been a Smashy Business Show, Smashy Business production, part of the Augustus Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to our 1.5 million monthly listeners. As soon as we touch 2 million, we'll update this and tell you that we are at 2
Yes,
million.
we
And if you're
will.
one of them, one of the listeners who listens to us, wants to know what's happening in the world of Middle East business, please keep listening to us and share it with your friends and family. We have a show, a sports show as well, which is happening today. It happens on Monday and Friday. Just plugging that in, that if you're listening right now live, you can also listen to the sports show at 11 UAE time. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Have a lovely weekend. You deserve it. Bye.
Bye-bye.